uniform code for everybody. But you forgot, for example, in some communities, it is legal, according to their personal laws, to marry girls even at the age of 14. What about that?
Strike down.
So then what is left?
But most of the thing is left. The personal law is left. Now you brought the amendment to the Hindu Marriage Act. You gave co-parental rights against the Mitakshara school to the daughters. It has destroyed the fiber. Daughter-in-law should have been given. You see, the law, you can discuss on this. You can bring out the changes in the laws. You can make the change in a Muslim law, in the Christian law, in a Hindu law. You can make a change. Give an equal right to every lady. What is the problem? Give equality.
All right. You're saying don't go for a uniform civil code, strike down bad practices otherwise. Let me take Tuhin Sinha's response to that. But before Tuhin Sinha responds, I do want to tell our viewers, because you mentioned the Constituent Assembly and the debates. In Ambedkar, and I'll run what Ambedkar said during those debates. He was for the UCC, even though there was no consensus on it. He also mentions till 1937, before the Shariat law was brought in, most of the Muslims in this country under the British, minus some places, were already under a similar jurisdiction as all of the Hindus. So my question also is, if it was okay under the British till 1937, why is it not okay again? Is it because of present day politics on the same? But I'll take that forward later. Let me also go across to Tuhin Sinha to respond to that there are other ways to deal with, striking down inequities, but you need not bring a UCC for that.
Well, good evening, Shivani. Good evening, everybody. The point is, why should we explore the other ways when they border on appeasement? The point is, Article 44 of the Constitution clearly mandates that the state shall endeavour to provide a uniform civil code to all its citizens, where there is no discrimination based on caste, creed. And so when in the past has this attempt been made? And why has this attempt not been made? Ideally, the first attempt should have been made around 1955 when the Hindu Marriage Act was introduced. The next attempt should have been made around the time when Rajiv Gandhi, jettisoned the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Shah Bano case. So we are already late by 7 decades, and it's now or never when what has been mandated in the Constitution needs to be implemented. At the core of it, please try to understand, are the vices like child marriage and polygamy, which have a huge bearing on our society. Do you want our future generations to cope with problems of dysfunctional society? At the end of it, if India has to progress, I think it's about time that all societies wake up to the fact that if there could be one criminal code, IPC, why can't there be one social code when it comes to issues like marriage, when it comes to issues like succession, when it comes to issues like inheritance? And I think it is about time we seriously explore it. I do understand that, there are some so-called secular parties which will habitually oppose it. But that is where the intent of the central government, the intent of the Modi government is very clear. In the past, there have been so many taunts. There have been so many people asking, when would you bring it? And in the past, I would just tell them, don't provoke us with this Tariq ka pata. We have been consistent with our ideological commitments, whether it was the abrogation of Article 370, whether it was the construction of Ram Mandir, and I think it is about time we will go all out to make sure that UCC is a reality in our country. Okay, let me bring in both the Aam Aadmi Party and the DMK as well. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party surprised possibly even its opposition member alliances, or at least partners in thought, by giving in principle support to the UCC. But let me first go across to DMK's Mr. Gandhi. What makes you oppose UCC and oppose it so vehemently that your party is calling it a violation of fundamental rights, even though, all legal minds believe that when it was added as a directive principle, they were aware of the fact that it will not take away any fundamental rights. And when the law also comes, if it comes, can be made in a manner that fundamental rights, particularly rights to religion, will not be affected by a uniform civil code.
See, first of all, we are very clear on this aspect right from the beginning. We are not in support of uniform civil code, because the notion that a uniform civil code could be introduced in a diverse country like India is fundamentally flawed, mainly for two reasons. Firstly, those argue for uniform civil code, I think, does not understand the political history of India. See, The idea of present India was formed post-1947 by uniting 565 princely states and 3 British presidencies. The princely states are ruled by various rulers, following various customs, various religions. Some are following Saivite religion, some were Vaishnavites, some were Muslims, and even Christians. They are the former colonies. So in order to unite them, a common framework was achieved. The framework was what we call it as the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India is nothing but an MOU, that is nothing but a memorandum of understanding between the founders of India and also these particular communities, diverse communities, where some aspects were guaranteed under the Constitution. That is, one is secularism, democracy, etc.
Secularism was not part of it.
Secularism is nothing but...
No, secularism was not part of the original Constitution. You want to debate the Constitution? Let's be fair.
No, we can debate it. It may not be part of the original Constitution, but the problem is India has been brought as a secular country.
It was meant to be a secular country, but the word secular was only added in the preamble in 1970s.
Even the Honorable Supreme Court has held that the secularism is a basic structure of the Constitution.
Absolutely, it was always meant to be a secular country, but there was a reason. Once again, if we go to the Constituent Assembly discussions, there was a reason secular was not added. It was a thoughtful decision.
That does not mean that India was created as a Hindu country.
Of course not. Of course not. That's precisely the argument that most people make.
The problem is,
India was always secular.
In the Constitution, we guaranteed certain rights.
Yes.
Now we are trying to take away that guarantees.
How?
If we take away that guarantees, these communities will be under stress.
But sir, please, that's exactly the question I asked you to begin with. Lawmakers believe and legal luminaries believe that the fundamental rights are not under threat because of a UCC. Now, if you maintain that it is, please explain to me.
No. Which are these lawmakers who believe that it will not be under stress?
Not just lawmakers, even legal luminaries are on record. Sir, 1 second. I don't want to fight with you. The Supreme Court is also on record to bat for a UCC. In fact, they believe there are so many inequities in so many social and civil rulings in India because of these various personal laws that actually it is inimical to cohesion. But I'll leave that aside. I want to understand from you which fundamental right gets affected by a UCC.
Each and everything, every fundamental right. Secularism is a fundamental right. It will be affected by UCC.
Secularism is not a fundamental right.
If at all, let me go a step further. If at all, if you want to bring UCC, first you should bring UCC to Hindus. Because Hinduism is the most stratified religion in the world.
No, I'm sorry. You're changing track now. You're not explaining to me which fundamental... 1 second. Which fundamental right is affected by the UCC?
Each and everything. The secularism and freedom to religion is a fundamental right.
Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate which fundamental right and how?
Practicing a religion is a matter of faith.
Yes.
And matter of faith is a fundamental right. And matter of following a personal law is a fundamental right. And if you want to bring it to Hindus. Because we believe in a religion which stratifies its own followers on the basis of birth and discriminates. Some can become priests.
Okay, I don't want this to be an anti-Hinduism tirade. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to allow you to use this platform to make an anti-Hinduism tirade, which may be your party ideology. I'm not going to allow it.
What do you mean by anti-Hinduism? I'm talking about the facts.
No, because you're picking on one, it shows. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow this. I'm not going to let you use my show for this. You answer the question on UCC.
My question is very, very simple. There are two issues. UCC cannot be brought in because UCC violates the fundamental rights of religious minorities, number one. Number two...
Only religious minorities it violates. Religious majorities' fundamental rights it doesn't violate.
How can you compare majorities' fundamental right? What type of argument is this?
Everybody's fundamental right is the same. Are minorities given different fundamental rights in India?
Personal laws are specific for the minorities. Personal laws are specific for
no, there are personal laws that were there for Hindus too.
Fundamental right. Following the personal laws will not affect anybody else. If Muslims are following their own, how does Hindus are affected? If
Christians are following because it's not about whether Hindus are affected because of Muslim personal law.
No, why should you impose
your whole premise is so parochial. Nobody made the argument that Hindus are affected because of Muslim personal law. The argument is that there are Muslim women fighting for equal rights like Hindu women in India. How can you negate the fact that Muslim women want UCC? They want a codified law for themselves.
That is a different thing.
How is it that different?
If Muslim women want UCC, let them fight it in the courts and let them take out the inequities.
I'm sure they will.